She stepped onto the deck dressed in simple jeans, a plain blouse, and a sun hat that had seen better days. No designer labels, no flashy lobbies, just a quiet smile and presence that felt steady. The glittering crowd on the $200 million yacht sipped champagne and barely paid attention to her. Whispers spread immediately. Some smirked, others rolled their eyes. A few even chuckled. Someone muttered, "Who let her on here?" Another said, "She must have wandered in from the dock." They had no idea who she was in their world of luxury watches, private jets, and high-stakes games. To them, she was invisible. Yet behind that modest smile was a woman with a story far richer than anyone could guess. She didn't argue or flinch. Instead, she simply kept walking, calm and sure as if she belonged there, because she did. As the party continued, jokes about her outfit persisted, but so did the silent glances. Something about her didn't fit the scene they had set. Why was the crew unusually respectful? Why did the captain personally greet her? And why, as the sunset painted the sky, did a black car roll up to the dock and wait? Doors opened, the engine hummed, yet no one had connected the dots. They didn't realize that the woman they'd mocked wasn't just another guest. She was the owner, not only of this yacht, but of the entire fleet lined along the marina. When the truth finally surfaced, the laughter stopped cold. How did she get here? Who really was she? What did she say when the story finally unfolded in front of everyone? Her name was Maria Delgado. Most had never heard of her, and that was exactly how she liked it. She didn't chase fame or fame chasing. No red carpets, no magazine covers, no social media stunts. She was quiet strength. Born in a small fishing village on Spain's coast, Maria grew up watching her father fix nets and boats by hand. She learned early that respect wasn't something you could demand. It was something you earned. While others sought fame, she chased ideas. Night after night, she studied trade routes, shipping logs, and old maps. Long before she could afford a computer, she found her passion. By her 20s, she bought her first fishing boat. She used borrowed money and sheer grit. By 30, she had expanded to cargo ships. At 40, she owned an international shipping network. She saw a gap in luxury yachting. Many wanted to own one, but few understood how the business worked. She built a secret company, fished, quiet, and clean, while millionaires pulled with her yachts. They had no idea they were renting pieces of her empire. She let them play their part. That suited her fine. But this party was different. One guest, Charles Whitmore, was a wealthy investor with too much ego. He once tried to buy her out. He didn't recognize her now, because back then, she was sharp and spoke business fluently. Today, she blended into the background. He laughed loudly when she passed. He even clinked his glass and made a joke at her expense. The others joined in, unaware they were mocking the woman who signed their checks. Maria watched quietly, calm and still. She was waiting, planning her next move. She moved through the yacht, noticing every detail. The polished wood floors, the gentle hum of engines, the guests struggling to impress each other. It all looked like her creation, impressive, intimidating, unforgettable. But today, watching from the outside, she felt something new: distance and detachment. Charles was now the center of attention. On the upper deck, a man Saturday lovely bragging about a new tech deal he nearly closed. He drank vintage champagne as if it were water. Mario watched him for a moment. He hadn't changed, still loud, still arrogant, still certain he was the smartest person in the room. What he didn't know was that one of the tech firms he mentioned had already signed a quiet deal with Maria's logistics company weeks ago. It wasn't personal, it was business. But standing here, seeing him gloat and mock her, it felt a little more personal than usual. Below deck, Sophie whispered into her headset, "She's on board." She looked at the captain and asked, "Should we tell Mr. Whitmore?" The captain paused, glanced at Maria through the tinted glass, and shook his head. "Not yet." Elsewhere on the yacht, a group of young guests was taking photos for social media, tagging luxury brands, and tossing hashtags like billionaire vibes and yak life. None of them knew who Maria was. One of them, a fashion influencer named Lala, had bumped into Maria earlier and rolled her eyes. She said, "Watch where you're going, Grandma," without even looking up from her phone. Maria didn't reply. She knew tonight wouldn't end as expected. As the sun set, the yacht's lights flickered on, casting a soft golden glow over the deck. Shadows stretched long across the guests. The mood shifted, drinks flowed faster, music grew louder, and laughter became more relaxed. But beneath all that, something quiet was brewing, something about to happen. Maria stood near the rail, gazing out at the marina, her fleet of 12 luxury yachts Saturday anchored in perfect formation. Each one was named after a place from her past. They were small signs of how far she'd come, from the docks of Almeria to the ports of Singapore. Her journey was written on the water. Inside, Charles moved on to his next story. It was about a failed deal he'd walked away from. He didn't mention that Maria had outbid him and taken the contract. She had done it quietly and without anyone knowing. She used a holding company he was unaware of. Sophie, the crew member who'd been watching all evening, approached Maria. "He's getting louder," she said softly. "Should I step in?" Maria shook her head. "Let them keep talking," she replied. A sleek black speedboat pulled up next to the yacht. A man in a dark suit stepped off, holding a silver briefcase. He didn't speak. He simply handed it to the captain, nodded, and then headed below deck. The crew looked at each other. They knew what was inside. Final papers, the confirmation they waited for. Up top, the party reached its peak. Music swelled, glasses clinked, and Charles took center stage. He didn't realize that the woman he mocked now had the power to end more than just the evening. She hadn't yet. The music thumped through the deck, mixing with the gentle sound of waves against the hull. Charles, already deep into his third or fourth drink, stood smiling near the main seating area. He told his friends, "I could buy half the companies here if I wanted." His friends laughed and nodded. Most had no idea if that was true. Maria watched silently from the railing. She had seen men like him before, so sure of themselves, so blind to what was happening right in front of them. The briefcase had disappeared below deck, but she felt its weight. What was inside? The deal was set. Morning. Charles's world would have changed completely. But then, something unexpected happened. A crew member hurried over to the captain, whispering urgently. The captain's face darkened as he nodded and moved closer to Maria. Leaning in, he said softly, "We have a problem." Maria tilted her head. "What kind of problem?" Charles exhaled slowly. "Whitmore's people found out something. Now they're calling around." Maria gripped the railing tighter, worried that Charles might figure out the truth too soon. If he connected the dots before she was ready, everything would change. At that moment, Charles took out his phone. His confidence might faded a little as he read the screen. His eyes snapped up, scanning the room. When his gaze landed on Maria, he saw her clearly for the first time that night. This time, he wasn't laughing. He took a step forward, his eyes fixed on her with confusion and disbelief. Around them, the guests fell silent, sensing the shift in the air. He walked slowly, his usual confidence replaced by hesitation. "You," he said quietly, unsure. "You look familiar." Maria turned fully to face him. Her expression was calm but firm. "We've met," she said simply. He blinked. Slowly, The recognition sank in. You were at that meeting, Delid Group, she confirmed. He nodded. Yes, you tried to buy us out for a fraction of what we're worth. The room grew heavy. Guests paused with drinks in midair, some lowering their phones to watch. Charles forced a laugh. So, what are you now? I'm a CEO, Maria said, her voice steady. I own the Delgado Group and the company behind your contracts, plus this yacht and the others over there. She pointed toward the marina, where her fleet shone under the moon. Charles's mouth opened but no words came. Then Maria added, I hold a controlling stake in your firm. Your board approved the deal this afternoon. Guests spread through the crowd. Someone dropped a glass, its shattering sound echoing loudly. Charles stared, frown used to winning but suddenly face to face with defeat. It was a rare, raw moment. Charles looked defeated, but just as Maria turned to leave, a new voice interrupted. Actually, it said coolly, there's been one more change. Everyone looked up. It was Lala, the influencer, stepping forward with a tablet in her hand. The screen flashed a news alert. Looks like someone bought the Delgado Group's parent company, she said, directly addressing Maria. And it wasn't Charles. Maria's eyes narrowed. The game wasn't over. Maria moved toward Lala, her eyes on the screen. The headline was real. A private equity group had acquired the parent company of Delgado Group. Silence fell. She paused briefly, then smiled, nearly amused. Well played, she whispered. Lala raised an eyebrow. You might want to read the fine print, she said. The holding firm belongs to me. The crowd stirred again, confused. Maria looked at her, something changing in her expression. Not anger, not fear, more like curiosity. I underestimated you, Maria said softly. You're not the only one, Lala replied. It turned out the young influencer was not just chasing fame. Over the last 2 years, she quietly invested in tech and logistics companies. Some of that was connected to Delgado's growth. She used her public face to distract everyone while she built her real empire behind the scenes. Tonight was her quiet reveal. Charles, no longer relevant, slipped away into the shadows. He was no longer the main focus. Maria extended her hand to Lala. I'd like to talk, she said. Maybe not tonight, but soon. Lala nodded. I'll make time. The party slowly went back to normal, but whispers spread quickly. The woman they mocked now owned everything they had admired. The girl they dismissed had just rewritten the rules. Maria stayed still, watching the scene unfold around her.